I'm flying.
How do you feel about that?
Seems pretty important.
Yeah,
Seems
yeah,
pretty crucial
yeah,
to the mission.
yeah.
Um, I forgot to start the music. Hang on.
That's true. I have to.
Pre-production.
I have to get some better music than this right now. I'm done with this. Are we on record right now?
We are on record right now. Should I get the
Wonderful.
Aladdin soundtrack?
Oh, why not?
Maybe that's a little too on the nose. Anyways, yes, I'm flying, and we are on the record, and music is playing.
How much about the Pickle Loon was on record too, by the way?
Literally none of that, and I made that a point.
Okay, thank God, because I want to be sponsored one day. No, I'm just kidding. One day,
I'll
one
try.
day.
I'll try. I'll make some phone calls.
We'll do our best. We'll do our best.
Yeah.
But Isaiah, currently towards the end of your flight spell, you find yourself moving towards the path of this incredibly large luminous object throughout the sky that is being flanked by what you can tell to be a nearly regionally spanning essence of darkness that seems to be chasing it, coming in the direction that you are flying from. The first thing that hits you is the heat. In the spirit realm, things feel a bit different, and now that you have a taste of your actual capability and actual senses and perceptions back fully, you are bombarded with an enormous amount of sun rays, essentially, in the spirit world. This isn't necessarily a problem, but you can see it becoming a problem in the very near future. You have, you would guess, maybe 10 minutes on your flight spell left. The surroundings about you are that of sandy dunes with not much vegetation, couple structures here and there. What do you do?
Can I make a perception check to see if I can keep pace with the darkness and the sun rays, or if I'm gaining or if I'm losing? Like, what is the comparatively, what is our own velocities?
I would say roll an insight check.
We'll roll an insight check. A natural 9 for a 14.
It's hard to discern given the fact that this large luminous object that you can't really necessarily tell the structure of just because of the nature of how bright it is, flanked by an umber void that's almost giving it somewhat of a shape behind it. You're able to tell that it's not moving too fast at this moment in time. It might just be slightly faster than you from your estimations.
Okay. Um, what is is there anything that's perceptible at the seam between the darkness and the light?
In between,
Yep.
it's not, you're not capable of telling at this angle that you're at because the light is coming nearly directly towards you. If you were to get maybe from the source of the big large luminous object maybe a side profile, you would be able to tell, but from this point of view it might be difficult, or you could go down below closer to the sands themselves to actually see.
Um, I'm sorry. I'm just taking a little second to change the soundtrack because turns out the Aladdin soundtrack has a lot of talking in it,
That's
um,
tough.
and is not just flat out music. Anyways, there we go. Um, what can I make? Can I? What do I understand about Mowgli's abilities as a celestial to protect me from either the rays of the light or the darkness?
You look at Mowgli. He's floating behind you at this point in time, waiting for your instruction on what you're going to do. It is known to you that he is armed with a projectile bow, a radiant bow, and a large mace as well. He does have the capability of healing you, but other than that, you are unsure of what he is bestowed with upon his magical essence.
Okay. Um, in that case, I think I will take the chance, and I will try to chase towards the light.
Okay, you're going towards the light.
Yep, I'm yeeting.
All right. I'm going to say I want you to roll me an initiative.
We'll roll
And Mowgli
initiative.
will always act immediately after you in this case.
Okay, so he doesn't get his own roll.
Nope, you don't have to worry about that. You're just rolling initiative against the actual traveling object coming towards you.
That'll be an 11 total.
I rolled a 12 on the die, so as you start bolting towards this shining object in the sky, the shape becomes far more discernible as you're getting closer. And with that comes more solar heat. Just through gaining distance towards the arc of Ra, it has natural defenses. And its initial radiant bubble is going to try to repel you from getting inside. Isaiah, as you start flying towards the arc, a bolt of radiant power shoots past you, and you manage to duck out of the way and warn Mowgli through your own actions to avoid a blast of radiant power as it scorches the sun or the sand. And suddenly you realize, as you crest through the bubble, you see the full shape of the arc. It is a large wooden and limestone-like structure made out of some type of black, opaque marble with white limestone etchings. It is about, you would say, 3 or 4 stories tall, maybe about half a mile long, and there are radiant bolts being shot off in every which way direction by just the sheer existence of this structure and the power of Ra itself. Amongst these bolts, you see what seems to be a clash between celestials and what you can only discern as flying serpents as well. You would assume that these are probably the spawn or the subjects of Apophis or Apep, trying to constantly overtake the Ark of Ra and essentially casting nightfall upon the spirit realm as we speak. But you are a good maybe 500 feet away from the Ark itself. But Isaiah, it is your turn.
Okay. Then, in that case, I am going to. I'm going to take the dodge action,
Okay.
and I will proceed my flight towards the uh, arc, and end my turn.
All right. And the fly spell gives you 60 feet of flight, so you'll be a little bit faster than Mowgli is at this moment in time. And you're going to go 60 feet per round. You're 500 feet away, and there are certain obstacles that you are going to run into in the meantime. So as you move about 60 feet, Isaiah, you see another form of, or I should say, layer of heat that is almost bursting off in a different colored flame from the arc itself. The closer and closer you get to the arc, the more and more you are bestowed with essentially the details of it through its radiant light. Give me a constitution saving throw.
I will give you a Constitution saving throw.
The DC is 14.
50-50, baby. Damn. 9 total.
Isaiah, you gain 1 level of exhaustion as you push through a pulse of heat that seems to try to take the life out of you almost. Another radiant bolt makes its way in your direction. It rolls with disadvantage. That's going to be a 16 total to hit.
Wow. That will hit.
Does that hit? That'll hit?
Beats
Okay.
beats.
You are struck with 1 bolt of raw for 17 points of radiant damage. It
Radiant.
burns into your armor, newly reclaimed at this point in time. But you're still looking pretty good at this point.
17 damage. Okay. Um.
I would like you, Isaiah, to roll me a d12 real quick.
Yeah, I can roll a d12. Oh, did Mowgli do anything on his turn since we're technically on an initiative?
Mowgli is essentially... He's going to dash ahead of you, and he's going to give you the help action, is what he's going to do. If he... No, yeah, he's not going to dash. He's going to do his best to give you the help action, to give you any assistance on any checks, because right now Mowgli can't necessarily do too much.
Okay. Well, I got a pretty good plan for the next turn, so get ready for that, right? I see through you. I see through the
Okay.
lies of the Jedi.
Hey, brother. Okay.
Oh, for the D12, I got a 2 on the die.
Oh, okay. Nothing happens then. You don't run into anybody. No one notices you. The war going on around the Ark is too prominent. But you're getting closer and closer to the Ark, and you're almost able to discern some of the individuals that have made themselves rather known.
Okay. And then it becomes my turn.
It is your turn.
I will cast Protection from Evil and Good and proceed an additional 60 feet forward.
All right, and that gives you
Disadvantage. Creatures of the types Aberration, Celestial, Elemental, Fey, Fiends, and Undead have disadvantage on attack rolls against me. I can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed by them. And if I'm already charmed, frightened, or possessed, uh, the I have advantage on any new saving throw against the relevant effect.
wonderful. So they'll be rolling with disadvantage. Is it for all those creatures, or do you pick one?
That's a great question. It's protection against certain types of creatures. So I think it's everything that's in that list.
All
Uh,
right,
I gain benefits for.
wonderful. That's a very good spell. And that is going to be your turn. No bonus action.
Let me just double check what my bonus actions are. No, I got nothing for bonus actions.
You move another 60 feet. That's going to put you.
And how can I at this point, because I'm a bit closer now, can I see how fast that the arc is moving towards me?
At this point, the arc is about. Let me see. 100 feet from you.
100 feet. Okay.
Isaiah, as you reach this distance in time, or not time, but your distance in your journey, you have pushed all the way to a wall of radiance. I'm rolling for the divine bolts. That's a natural 2 on the die. That is not going to hit you. You easily deflect one off with your shield, as you've been through this before at this point in time. However, as soon as you release the bolt off, deflecting it off of your shield, a force field of divine energy makes itself known to you. You stop right before it. What do you do, Isaiah?
Okay. Can you explain a little? Can you expound, Your Honor?
Almost like if you were to pour gasoline upon the floor and light a match, the initial burn where the fire spreads throughout the small layer of gas upon the ground, where it's barely noticeable, encompasses the entirety of the arc you can see. None of the fighting at this point in time has made it this far in. Any individual who does get so far that seems to be of the serpent orientation is burnt to a crisp, into ashes, and ceases to exist.
Um.
Oh, and roll me a d12.
I will roll a d12. So I'll do that first. So that is going to be an 11 on the die.
Okay. So you have caught the eye of what seems to be some children of Apophis. They will not act upon you, and this could be avoided altogether depending on what you do coming up. But next round, they will be upon you.
Okay.
There will be. I will roll a die. One of them. There will be one.
Perfectly, perfectly fine. So my action, I'm gonna draw from a little bit of nostalgia. Um, Noticing this radiant wall, I am going to me just double check. Okay, yep. So I'm going to do what I have always done prior to me coming into the duat, which is use Mowgli as my protective cowl, and I will use the basically the celestial manifestation of Mowgli as a cover as we both try to breach the wall of Radiance.
All right. Isaiah, give me a Constitution saving throw with advantage.
Double 11s for double 15s.
15. All right. That is going to be a fail. But, Isaiah, as you call upon Mowgli to once again become your cowl, you shine with a radiance upon Mowgli that has never been seen before. The only person who could have known Mowgli was capable of such a thing is you, truly. And in representation, you feel like he was capable of this at all times, protecting you from everything that is truly evil or dangerous to you. You plunge your hands first into the actual force field. And before you can place your hand upon it, there is resistance. You feel a burn so severe. Not upon the actual layer itself, but once you get past it. The true heat of the Arc of Ra just crisps your fingers initially. You are going to take 24 points of fire damage, and you get your hands through the layer itself.
Both hands or one hand?
You get both hands through. As you're plunging yourself in, it is excruciatingly painful.
Okay. Okay. Um, okay. Yeah, that'll be my turn.
Okay. The Child of Apophis is going to make the dash action to get to you.
Well, would Mowgli's turn not follow mine?
Mowgli at this point in time is melded with you, as per our description there.
Okay,
So I'm going
okay,
to say
I
he's
understand.
giving you advantage on these checks. Otherwise, you're doing it raw.
Okay, okay, I get what you're saying. Doing it raw, good pun. All right, I see.
Yep. The Child of Apophis, purple in scale, fully formed upper torso of a human individual, wielding what seems to be a axe of some type of strange chitin insectoid material. He comes towards you with his tail for legs, flying through the air, and screams at you in some type of language you don't necessarily understand.
Could I?
He,
I don't know if I have enough like action economy to do this, but is there any way that I could like perceive to acknowledge what type of language it is? Like I can't even discern what language it is, regardless that I don't know. I can't speak it.
you would guess this to be abyssal.
Okay, okay, okay. Continue. Sorry.
He is angling to do his attacks upon the next turn, but you have your initiative coming up. The Arc of Ra is going to take a shot at you with disadvantage, and a shot at him with advantage. It does not hit you. Wow. Double fours for him. That's not very fair. Two bolts shoot past both of you as you see this child of Apophis begin to sizzle from the sun arc itself. It is your turn.
On the other side of this force field, this arc, this radiant shield, I'm going to clasp my hands together and feel the near raw bone singed, remains of my hands. And I am going to uh, lay on hands myself
Okay.
for 40 points. And for my for my bonus action, I am probably going to do nothing. So that'll be the end of my turn.
You do have your movement still.
Oh yeah.
If you wish to try to push through.
Yeah, I would try to push through. I just didn't know if pushing through would count kind of as an action. But yes, I would.
No. You absolutely can, and you should definitely flex whatever you want to do. At least ask and see if what's available to you, of course.
Yeah.
Give me a con save with advantage.
I will continue the breach, and this will be. Oops. Drop the dice. One is cocked. So my largest one is going to be a 19 total.
19 total. You save. By saving, your burning is far lessened, and you manage to get majority of your torso through, with your waist being the only thing on the other side. Isaiah, the heat has become incredibly uncomfortable for you, but since you don't necessarily truly need to breathe, you breathe out of instinct, you try to find it within yourself to stifle your instincts in this sense. Okay.
Play dead. No, I'm kidding.
Yep. You take 9 points of fire damage this round. You only need one more success to get through. I took the liberty of rolling a d12 to get an 11, and I rolled a 4 on a d6. So 4 more children of Apophis notice you, but they will not be able to act upon this turn yet. However, the one closest to you will be able to do so, and he is going to make his attacks with advantage as you are struggling to get through a force field. Oh my god. An 18 and a nat 20.
Jeez, he's going to have at my little legs.
He's going to have at those ham hocks, bro. He's going for him.
Wait, what type of creature is he? Because I still have the protection from good and evil.
You are correct. So that is actually going to be a straight roll. I'm going to get rid of the nat 20 because I don't want it to end here. But I'm going to roll the damage for the crit anyways and roll the natural damage just to see what it would have been. I forgot that it was at disadvantage and at advantage, so it'd be a straight roll. Thank you for catching that, because that could have been disastrous. So with one attack, he would have done about 13 points of slashing damage with his axe and 2 points of necrotic damage. It would have been about 22 points of slashing damage if he had, crit. Rolling the other attack, straight roll. Natural 1, actually. So he seems to get a little cocky, and he thinks he can cleave at you after causing initial damage. You manage to pull part of your thigh through, and he cleaves nothing but the force field, and it blows the axe back, and he drops it.
Damn.
It falls down to the sands below. Isaiah, I would like you to roll me another d12.
Another D12. Here we go.
We're going to take turns if this keeps going on, just to make it more fun.
Natural 1 on the D12.
Natural 1. That is going to get the attention of one of the attendants of Ra, actually. Isaiah, flying towards you swiftly from above, is a black-clothed, angel-like individual with a marking of a god upon its forehead. That marking is the marking of Set.
Oh, jeez Louise.
Glowing red eyes, no discernible armor, holier than thou attitude upon her face. She has incredibly sun-kissed tan skin, as you would assume anyone who is the attendant of Ra would be. She holds a spear in one hand and a small shield in the other. She's joining the initiative for this battle here. She looks upon you with some type of intrigue, raising an eyebrow. Her glowing red eyes seem to not consider you a threat, but more so a curiosity at this moment in time.
Interesting. Turn
That's
is it
going
now?
to be the Ark's turn. So straight roll. That's a 19 to hit Isaiah.
It will.
As for the okay, I just got double nat ones to hit the Child of Apophis. I had to pause my music for a moment just to like actually take that in.
You have to emotionally process what's going on with your dice right now.
I'm gonna take these for a second, put them over here, and I'm gonna use the big D20 instead.
Yeah, you got to reassess some things. Yeah.
I'm giving them a timeout. So the damage to you, Isaiah. Wow, that's pretty good. 5 points of fire damage.
How many points of fire damage?
Just 5.
Okay.
I rolled very poorly, which is lovely. It's what you want.
Yeah, bitch. Respectfully.
Music's back on! The Ark has done its attacks. You are up, Isaiah. You may take your bonus action before you decide to move. You will not be required to take damage until you move. You need one more success to get through, but if you fail, you will barely make any progress.
I am going to proceed forward. The highest is going to be an 18 total.
Isaiah, you manage to, with great motivation, push yourself through the final layer of the Ark. Once you were upon the final force field, you became attached to the Ark, so it was no longer moving in the direction. It had overcome your actual movement itself. Mowgli pushes you as hard as he possibly can through his own spiritual power. And he says, "One more push, Isaiah!" And you feel, as soon as you push through, Mowgli's coat, his fur itself, turns a radiant gold for a split second in time. almost like he's made out of light, before it dulls back into his natural black color.
I would
Isaiah, you have made it through.
I would like to make a perception check.
Make a perception check, my friend. On what?
What the hell do I see beyond the disciple of Ra, who is a disciple of Set? Fuck, that's bad. All right, this is gonna be a 6 total.
6 total?
Yeah.
You look upon the attendant of Ra. She looks at you with actual perplexity at this point in time. She begins to engage with the children of Apophis. They outnumber her rather well, but she seems to take her battle pretty easily, mostly keeping an eye upon you, not showing much urgency, though. You do notice, looking beyond, it seems that the serpents are being pushed back towards the night. The Ark, or at least the top deck of the Ark itself, is bestowed upon you. You are able to see the full mast and sails of the Ark of Ra being pushed with some type of arcane or divine, less so arcane, more so divine energy from the mast itself, seemingly generating its own radiant wind. The radiant wind itself starts off as a almost aqua blue before it turns off into something darker, almost like a blue dwarf. The sails themselves bear the ancient symbol of the Eye of Ra, which is almost unseen in modern day Jabaxi, as Ra is no longer the head of a pantheon that Horus now leads himself. Horus's eye being the actual opposite-sided eye. The strange thing, Isaiah, is that the deck itself is completely vacant. There is nothing to be seen other than what seems to be the beautiful filigree and designs built into this limestone and wooden deck. There are no ropes attaching the sails. Everything seems to work upon divine manipulations. You are still flying. You don't know how long your flight might last, but you have a good idea that it might be about less than 5 minutes.
Let me just say this for the record, and I don't want to metagame. I don't want to break the fourth wall in any way. But can I just get a fucking hallelujah for the best possible description you could ever possibly fucking receive for a 6 on the perception check?
Oh yeah, you wanted to see the perception behind, the attendant of Ra. You didn't get much, but I gave you the the laydown of what you see. Believe me, everything's out in the open. It's pretty fucking bright. You can see everything.
Yeah, no. That's why I don't. I know it's just funny. It's like, man, he's balling out on this description. He's using adjectives like, man, I'm stoked, I'm hype. And then I started thinking, I'm like, wait, I rolled a fucking 6.
If only you rolled a 7, my guy.
Oh man, the things I can see.
You weren't ready.
The things
You weren't
I can
ready.
see. Okay, so question, because I used my movement to get through the last part of the arc. How much did that cost technically of my movement now that I'm on the other side?
Isaiah, at this point in time, I'm going to formally say you are out of initiative. The Ark of Ra is no longer taking shots upon you, although it is still widely shooting from the deck below. It no longer sees you as what would be considered an adversary.
Okay, then in that case, I would So does the ship seem to be flying itself? I know you said it was the radiant wind and there's masts and all that, but is there a helm and is there someone at the helm?
The ship itself is nearly half a mile long in its entirety. You are essentially at the very front. So you would assume that further back, you might assume there is a helm. However, you don't see any attendants currently sailing, as they are currently defending off what is essentially the plague of Apophis.
Okay. Then I will proceed to walk down the deck towards what I would, I guess, consider to be the helm. What I assume to be the helm. I know I haven't been on this type of ship, but I would assume that this ship would have a helm of sorts on the other side.
With your 5 minutes of flight, Isaiah, you could feel that you could, I should say, you feel like you could probably make the distance much faster if you were to fly, more so than actually just walk. But if you wish to walk, you absolutely can. Just
Uh,
to take in the scenery.
yeah, I don't need a Superman this. I just I'll keep walking. I'll keep on walking.
I'm gonna say Mowgli peels himself from you, and he goes, "Whoa!" as he is standing on 2 feet, but still in bear pelt form. He puts his thumb in his mouth and balloons himself back up to his thick form of Chad Mowgli, full celestial armaments and bows and boots.
That's beautiful.
Oh, I didn't know I could do that again. That was interesting.
I would look at Mowgli and I would say, Mowgli, and I would put my hand on his shoulder, his bare shoulder. None of this part of this journey would have been possible without your accompaniment. So, once again, I find myself indebted to your outstanding servitude.
He'll nod with a look of heroism upon his face. I don't know if that is true, Isaiah, but next time, maybe I wear you as a pelt and you push me through.
Well, fuck.
Unbeknownst to him of how dark and kind of gruesome that was to say, he definitely meant it in a very cordial and kind way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Mowgli.
I'll say,
Yeah,
Mowgli, once I
absolutely.
figure out that little thumb trick that you just did, I will be the first. You will be the first to wear me as your cloak.
He he sticks a bear claw back in his mouth and he sucks the air out of his body and turns back into a rug. And then he starts sliding across the ground in rug form, following you.
God. I just pictured like very crude version of the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 scene where the Golden Woman is getting the carpet rolled out for her as she
Yeah,
approaches the Ravagers, except it's just Mowgli scooting against the deck of the ship while pulling me. Oh
essentially,
man,
yeah.
I don't want to be a dick. I don't want to do that. But I
Oh.
will proceed walking towards the head of the ship.
Moving your way up, Isaiah. Walking, you take a short dip to a entrance of a staircase that is a little bit of a it's strange for a minute. It's a bit of a long archway, but there are quite frankly no shadows to be seen. As it seems like there's almost a subtle enchantment of light coming from every inch of the arc itself. You realize that even though you can't necessarily tell, you're not casting any shadows upon the deck of Ra. And it's quite interesting For a second, you feel like you might see a shadow underneath Mowgli, but you realize it's a bit of fur that just kind of like came off for a second and then just reapparates upon Mowgli. There seems to
Interesting.
be powerful divine magics at work, but you make your way up to the helm of the ship itself. The deck uh, is wide. There's actually a tiny bit of wear and tear, a few notches inside of the wood, and a bit chips into the limestone itself at this top. And you do see a large wheel that's operating on its own, about 30 feet, maybe in its full, we'll say 15 feet in radius, that seems to be operating upon itself, just making micro adjustments as it's slowly moving.
Okay. And there's no one helming it.
There's nothing helming it right now, but you do see some type of radiant energy just kind of enchanting it at this moment in time.
Okay. Um, so below the helm, is there like a equivalent to a captain's quarters?
Yes, there is what seems to be possibly a stairway or an entrance that goes down below.
Would you call this the equivalent to the stairway to heaven? I'm just kidding. I just wanted to make that joke. Anyways,
The close equivalent, yes.
um, I will proceed to go to the captain's quarters.
All right, Isaiah, I would like you to roll me a perception check.
I will roll a perception check. It's a natural 14 for a 15.
14 for a 15. As you start making your way down, this entrance is a good ways away from the wheel itself. You do notice that the only thing that is impossibly large, like that wheel itself, is the wheel, as the entrance itself seems to be more so attuned to a humanoid like you, maybe even just a little bit taller, just to make up for possibly taller individuals more so than yourselves. But as you approach, you get down towards the door itself. It is a set of double doors. The handles, there are no knobs, there are no locks upon this door. It does depict what seems to be a bird-headed man doing battle with an impossibly large serpent. The bird himself is wielding what seems to be nothing more than a staff and casting a bolt of radiant energy, very similar to the ones that you were being hit with, but a different color, almost like a burning bloody red, upon this door. You do hear voices on the other side with your perception check, but you do not possess the capability of discerning what the noises are, just due to the battle that's going on far past you at this point.
Um, so does the door? You said it's a double doors. Is it a door that seems to be locked? Is there no handles? Like, was it
There
not?
are handles,
Okay,
there are no locks.
okay. Then I will proceed to walk in.
Okay. You pull the doors open. Inside, you see something that you never would have expected unless you saw that attendant of Raw. You see 5 members of Set's cult inside of this initial cabin. One individual sitting behind an impossibly large desk. All of them very tan, almost ebony of skin, red of eye, wearing nothing but black cloth. The captain, in parentheses, wearing some type of golden sash across her chest. They all stop the conversation they were having as soon as you walk in. A number of them turn to look at you. One of them begins to reach for a short sword at their side. And the captain speaks first. She says, "One got in. A revenant of some kind." So, revenant, before we end you, how do you enjoy the Ark of Ra?
It's quite a beautiful boat. I have never seen such a intimidating, frightening, but yet beautiful and striking vessel. The stories I've heard about it, I feel like I'm in my own children's fairy tale. This is only something that I could ever imagine. And it is such a horrible, horrible shame that this beautiful vessel has fallen into the hands of some members of Set who, ironically enough, relative to the vessel and its very purpose to lead against the darkness and to follow its eternal course through the sky, to be manned by people who so seemingly have lost their way.
Please. She has heard enough, and she reaches down below her desk and she pulls out a longbow. As soon as she puts her hand to wire, or I should say string, an arrow apparates into her hand. She draws back. I need you to roll initiative, Isaiah.
I'm rolling. I'm fucking rolling, man.
All right.
I got a 14.
14.
Me and Mowgli. 14.
Guess what? Guess what? You're going first, Isaiah.
So are all of her followers gonna go on the same as like her roll?
She rolled a natural 3, and this is going to be considered a surprise round for everyone besides her. So you get a free action to do what you want at this moment in time.
Oh, I'm
Well, I shouldn't say free action. You're acting first. None of them are going to get a turn this turn. They're not rolling initiative yet.
Oh, I am gonna beat this woman like a Cherokee drum, as one Dwayne Johnson said in
Oh
the
my,
iconic film
that's
Fate
true.
of the Furious.
He did say that shit.
I don't do this a lot. I like to role play, but like I don't know, something about this moment. I'm upset. I'm kind of tilted cuz like I was actually kind of hoping to see Raw, and this fucker is right here. I'm like, like I'm kind of like I'm like Thor at the end of Infinity War. Like give me Thanos, but not like in a confrontational way cuz I want to see Raw. I don't want to fight Raw. So we're sending it. I'm gonna bonus action Spirit Shroud and summon the spirits of Osiris, but instead of their presence being ever necrotic and deathly and looming, it's gonna be the cold chills of the life that is slowly coming to a standstill. These spirits that are transitioning but still slipping from their past life into their next one. So
Wonderful.
that's gonna be my bonus action Spirit Shroud. I'm also going to uh, take two attacks, two-handed attacks with my Stinger of the Web Weaver,
Okay.
and I'm pulling up, man. I'm pulling up. I'm gonna go forward. I don't know how big this room is, but I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna probably just yeet across this desk and try to. I'm gonna take two swings. Cocked. Okay, so does a 14 hit?
A 14 does not hit the captain.
Okay, then the other one is gonna be a 23 to hit.
23 definitely hits the captain.
And I'm going to burn a third level spell slot to do my Divine Smite.
All right, roll that damage.
All right, buddy. All right. I got to figure out how many dicey poos this is. So I get a D10 and gotta find it. All right. So that'll be 48.
Their level's pretty high.
Yeah, it's some. That is some shit. That is some shit. So 13, 16. So that'll be 23 damage, spread across slashing and radiant damage.
Okay. 23 damage.
23 damage, and then. I mean, you can dictate this, but I might still have my protection from evil and good. So
How long does it last, do you think?
it's 10 minutes.
10 minutes? You still have it.
Okay. So I don't know what type of entity this is, but I believe protection from evil and good. Oh no, I don't get advantage on attacks. It's just saving throws. Okay. Anyways,
No, it's
yeah,
protection.
yeah, yep. So I'll be right here, and then yeah, I'm passing the baton to Mowgli. Mowgli can pull up, do what he needs to do.
Isaiah, the moment you go in for your first attack, you take a swing. The desk in the office itself disappears. As soon as you're about to put your leg upon it to actually almost lunge or make that your standing point for your swing, the moment you do, it sinks into the ground and disapparates, throwing you off, and she completely avoids your swing as it is. As your swing was fairly true, but didn't quite make its process, she takes a very long look at it, and you see a moment of concern upon her face as it passes by her, and she suddenly takes you very seriously. You take your second swing, and you land. She's actively attempting to block it with her bow. The bow itself made out of some type of golden silver metal. She blocks it for a second until she's overpowered by your divine might. And the moment your smite makes contact, you are blinded, Isaiah. Everything from your divine smite explodes, and you are cascaded and launched upon to the front deck, along with her, Mowgli, and all of the attendants, in an explosion that completely ruptures the arc inside.
Oh shit. Oh
You
shit.
are launched about, I'll say, I don't know, 80 feet into the air, almost like an explosion, just launch you guys. You don't take any damage from it, but I'll say with your flight, you're able to right yourself before you land too harshly.
Okay.
The
There was one thing that I forgot was that Binding Strike gets me an extra hit die.
Okay.
So that'll just be one extra hit die,
Oh
and
yes,
that's
yes.
and that'll be that's pretty good.
Of your
Um,
temp HP.
yeah, that's gonna be 9 points of force damage.
Oh, all right. That yeah. She's not horribly hurt, but that blow was more than she ever expected from you. And she is immediately perturbed by your presence. She's quite angry. She looks at you, flying herself and slowly hovering to the ground. She looks at you, pissed off. I just redesigned the Ark for Ra himself, and you had to go and do this? She points at all the destruction you did and how the cabin was destroyed.
You know, play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Shouldn't have been on the boat, buddy. I'm here to speak to the manager.
You clearly don't know how things work around here, and you need to be taught a lesson. Let's do this. And she's going to take her 2 attacks. She does make them with disadvantage. 2 7s. How? How am I doing this repeatedly? I did 2 11s earlier, 2 7s, 2 1s.
I did 2 11s earlier as well, so I think there's
Oh,
just some
God.
in the air.
Oh, I dap you up.
I dap you up. Respect, respect.
Oh my God! No fucking way, Patrick. I just rolled 2 nat 20s.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, Patrick. Okay,
How do you want to do
so
this?
she is wielding the bow of Ra. Patrick, give me a Constitution saving throw right now.
Oh shit. You're right. Here we go. That is going to be a 17 total.
17. Thank God. All right. Fucking hell. Okay, yep. Oh my God. Thank God. All right.
The aura of
Patrick.
protection is just fucking broken. The +3 to all saving throws, man, that saved me from a lot of damage.
Yeah, you are going to have to give me a Constitution saving throw for the spell concentration of. Fuck. You have to roll an 18 at least on the die, I'm pretty sure, to actually. I don't know what your plus to con is off the cuff, but she is going to do 36 points of piercing damage to you with her 1 attack. As this arrow from her bow hits you at the heart of hearts, Isaiah. It was insane. She made 1 attack. You brought your shield up, and she made another attack, deflecting it off of one of her own attendant's weapons, ricocheting it past your shield directly into your center of mass. How are you looking, Isaiah?
Oh man. 36 points.
36 points of piercing damage.
Yeah, not fantastic. I could be doing better, I'll say. Yeah. He is his legs are wobbling basically. He got shook. He's still fighting. He's here. But yeah, he got shook.
Okay. Mowgli is going to go up next. Let's see here. He's going to use Healing Touch on you immediately, as he sees exactly how how much damage you took so fast. So that is, what level spell is this? 5th level. It's going to heal you for 13 points of damage. Or, well, yeah. Heal you for 13 points of healing, I should say. And I think that's going to be his action for now. He is going to stand in front of you, however, Isaiah, as a means of cover, as he is large enough to produce that for you, boosting your AC to a +2. He is going to take these hits for you if she misses narrowly.
Okay.
She screams out to you, "How does that feel, Nick?"
uh. Oh, I should roll for my concentration check on Spirit Shroud.
You should. The other attendants are going to roll initiative as well.
That is a succeed. That is a
Good.
succeed, so I get that. So this will be my turn then.
It is your turn.
And Healing Touch, that's a one-time thing?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Then... in that case, I
Mowgli
will...
does say, "Isaiah, these odds are not in our favor."
And I'll whisper to him, Mowgli, we just gotta make them in our favor. And I'm gonna take a step out. I'm gonna point the sword straight at her, as if I had my own bow and arrow, and I'm a guiding bolt her bitch ass.
Oh, all right.
17 to hit.
17 hits, Isaiah. Roll your damage.
That's gonna be that, and that, and so that's gonna be 9 points of radiant damage and 7 points of cold damage to her. As I send out a ray of light that has like a blistering cold trail on it, straight at her quote unquote heart of hearts. I don't know if I nail it per se because I'm not the long range type. I don't really do this type of stuff, but I'm gonna try to make it count too.
You hit as true as you possibly can. Where does the cold damage come from?
Spirit Shroud.
Spirit Shroud, okay. Isaiah, she is bloodied at this point in time. You have taken her from a pretty healthy start to immediately questioning what is going on right now.
I'm also gonna step back into cover behind Mowgli once I do that.
Perfect. I assumed that was going to be the case. The other attendants are beginning to surround you at this point in time. They, however, are not nearly as powerful as she is, just judging by their meek appearance. They seem to be rather tentative in making their steps towards you. Isaiah, roll me a d12.
Or roll a d12. That is a 7 on the die.
That's good. Isaiah, one of the attendants from the outside battle has made their way in. This individual looks to be a halfling man floating in the air, a different kind of getup from the one that you've recently seen. He is wearing what seems to be a almost dark red set of robes, kind of Egyptian, Greek-esque, you would assume. He wears the symbol of Khepri painted upon his forehead. He comes into your area and lands down to the side, to your side, actually. And he asks, very calmly and simply, "What has brought this fight upon the deck of Ra? What is going upon here? Why do my fellow attendants, sailors of the Ark, strike against this revenant? We should lay him to rest calmly and peacefully." That's going to be all of that, though. The smaller, lesser attendants are going to make their turns. Some of them are going to make their turns against you, Isaiah. One of them rushes up to you and tries to strike at you with a small Kopesh. You still have your spell going on, so it's done with disadvantage. It is not going to hit. He's a bit of a wiener, some would say, in terms of how pathetic he is in his actual attempt to strike at you.
Some would call him that.
Yeah. Your attention obviously being on the deadly captain, you see this one guy run up, try to flank you, and you knock his scimitar out of his hand or not a scimitar, his Kopesh out of his hand for a split second in time before he rights himself and catches it back up. Another one rushes up on the other side of you. He is going to get advantage, therefore making it a straight roll. 14 doesn't hit you.
No.
Your Kopesh, you block it easily, pushing him back with your more formidable strength than his. He seems to be rather intimidated by you, Isaiah. Judging by what you've done to his captain, he doesn't seem like he has the capability of what she possesses or what you possess. You are just simply built different.
I think the clinical term is, and I didn't go to medical school, so don't quote me on this, but I think the clinical term is he doesn't have that dog in him.
No, he does not. If he does, it is a Pomeranian. I believe that would be the Ark of Ra's turn. It doesn't matter right now, though, so I'm just going to say that everything's going fine. Next up in initiative, I believe it is you, Isaiah.
I don't think it is, because I took the guiding bolt at her and then took back cover.
No.
So she has to get her second turn at some point.
I'm not writing down initiative. It is her turn. You are correct. She looks at you, looks at her fellow attendant, and simply says, "He is just a loose-tongued undead who made it through some enchantments that need some bolstering." She takes to the skies, Isaiah, and she is going to take her shots at you with disadvantage. Isaiah, I rolled 2 natural ones again.
Ray, we can pause the recording. You can take a walk.
I don't know what the statistic anomaly that's going on is. I need to throw these dice into my dice tray. She's going to take her second attack. Okay. That is going to be a 16. Does a 16 hit?
16 does hit.
Okay. All right. Isaiah, her bow does hurt quite a bit. This one doesn't strike you nearly as true. It hits you under your shoulder armor. Ooh, that's a good roll, though. It's going to hit you for 18 points of piercing damage.
Yeah, that'll hurt.
Next up is going to be 2 more attendants. Isaiah, you are starting to become surrounded. more and more individuals are beginning to pour in into the perimeter, and your battle is beginning to gain more and more views on Twitch, essentially.
God.
Oh, jeez. But none of these lesser attendants are really able to make any swings at you, Isaiah. Nope, none of them hit. You are essentially two-man 300ing the Persians back to where they come from. Uh, Isaiah, it is your turn.
Is that guy that has the goddess of Kepri on him still next to me?
He is very much so near you. He is about to. He's not necessarily taking a side at this moment in time, but he seems to be somewhat appealing in your direction.
Okay.
You get the idea that he doesn't understand the nature of your existence, more so than you being a revenant, according to what he has said.
Um. Then I think I'm gonna. Man. I think I'm going to lay on hands for 10 points of HP.
Okay.
And then with underneath the cover of lay on hands is an action, right?
It is.
Yeah, yes it is. Okay. Then in that case, I will back against Mowgli and I'll just tell him, Mowgli, if you could just, knock a couple of these guys away from us, that would help. That would go a long way.
Isaiah, I think I'll do as best I can. But I
Go.
can't leave you here.
We can't let them keep taking free hits on us.
The thought into Mowgli's head. It's hard to describe the look upon his face because he's covered in fur. But Mowgli is going to essentially do his best he can to get these guys out of here, you can assume.
Yeah.
Is that all for your turn, though?
Yes, that is all for my turn.
That's it? Okay. So you're holding your ground. All right. That is going to be Mowgli's turn then. With his large size, he is going to... I mean, shit, at this point in time. The greatest threat is the captain. So Mowgli... Since he's in front, and he can do it, he's going to fly up to the captain. And he's going to... Yeah, he's going to take some opportunity attacks. But he's still pretty healthy. Jeez. Mowgli takes one opportunity attack as only one Kopesh actually makes any damage on him. Mowgli is going to rush up to the captain and he's going to try to disarm her.
How far away is he from me?
Mowgli is going to fly his full 40 feet to get to her.
Okay.
So he's about 40 feet away now.
Okay.
He is going to essentially block any arrows of hers from getting towards you. That is going to leave you with the Lessers and the Kepri attendant of Ra. Mowgli's going to roll his attack. Or his... I'm going to run this as a improvised action here. You see Mowgli essentially encapsulate himself upon the captain. He's going to go back into rug form, and he's going to try to subdue her. Right now, she's essentially covered and essentially wrapped up inside of Mowgli. And I'm going to roll for the attendant of Kepri for initiative. He gets a fairly low roll. That's too bad. The other attendants are going to roll. Isaiah, could you also roll me another d12?
Yes. It's a 2.
A 2. All right. That's on the better end of things. Something happens off screen. We'll pretend that's a thing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's not going to hit either. Another attendant tries to make an attack at you. They seem to be almost untrained with how easy. These people don't give off the idea that they were out in the battlefield for a good reason. They're not martially trained. They are what seems to be associated with Set themselves, but they don't have any type of martial training to actually land an attack on you. It's almost like you're sparring with a child, Isaiah.
Damn, that's tough for them.
Yeah, they make 3 of them make 3 attacks, and the attendant of Kepri is going to go next. He's going to roll an insight check on you. Can't tell if it's a 9 or a 2. Damn these dice. I'm going to assume that's a 2. Either way, that wouldn't be as much. Revenant, will you please pass upon, in a peaceful manner, away from our boat? Is there an individual you have revenge against? A person you must lay to rest before you may lay to rest? Or would you allow me to slay you to rid ourselves of your presence upon this boat? The young tan halfling says upon you.
I would look over to the halfling, and with a look of resolve, I would pause and almost completely forget that I am in battle. I would, because I'm currently wielding the sword, the webweaver sword with 2 hands. I would let go of it with 1 hand and guide my other hand to point the sword directly at him. And I would say, if you would like me to go back to rest, then I would need you, in particular, Halfling, to renounce Set as your deity and lay down arms.
The halfling looks at you with confusion. I do not serve Set. No one here upon the Ark of Ra serves Set. We serve Ra. All those upon it must continue the journey. What purpose have you to come upon the Ark other than to try to wrest it from its attendants? Spawn of Apophis, I shall slay you myself if necessary.
Can I make an insight check to see if he's telling the truth and nothing but the truth?
Make an insight check.
It's natural 13 for an 18.
He is telling the truth. He's pretty straightforward. He doesn't seem to have much personality in him compared to the captain, but he almost seems monotonous in his approach of, I'm duty bound and I must continue with my job, almost like a robot. Isaiah, as you drop your khopesh to one hand, your large khopesh, you do notice the ever so slight beginning of the Eye of Ra is beginning to burn itself into the blade just below the symbol of Set and the symbol of Eset. You're beginning to gain another one.
I would look at the... Whose turn is it, by the way? It's his turn.
It's his turn. He's inquiring and trying to make peace with you.
Okay. I would look at him and say, the members of this crew and the followers of Ra have been duty bound, and for that, Ra is ever grateful. Unfortunately, the nature of Ra's duty has played a role, not a majority, but alas, a role in what is not only the near collapse of Jabaxi, the complete uprising of Set, and most importantly, and I would hold the sword pointing straight up, the wounds of Neith herself.
Oh, mentioning Neith widens his eyes. The halfling is no longer docile, you could assume. You speak of Neith, the time before Ra even himself. You know nothing of the Ark of Ra. You speak upon presumptions, simple hearsay. Look upon this Ark. What gives you the idea that we work under Set's discretion itself? We simply move the sun and battle Apophis, Apep, every darkness, revenant, demon, devil that makes its way into Jabaxi every day. You are no different. Silver-tongued monsters of the undead have been upon us before. I will strike you down and set you free for a short time. You can begin your age of revenge another time, child. Uh, he's going to. You see him arm himself for his next initiative, essentially, or next turn. In the meantime, one of the attendants is going to give the other one the help action to make a straight roll attack on you, Isaiah. Once again, they do nothing to actually make a difference. However, it's going to come to the captain's turn. She is going to try to break out of Mowgli's grasp. They're going to roll contested athletics checks in this situation. She breaks free of Mowgli. She looks back at you, Isaiah. You see the bow of Ra in her hand. She is going to fly away from Mowgli, straight up, and take an opportunity attack from him. Oh, Mowgli clocks her real hard before she goes. Damn it, Mowgli.
That's
You
my
rolled a
fucking
one.
carpet. That's my fucking carpet!
He rolled a 1 on his damage die, but it still does 5 bludgeoning damage. So, that's not terrible. It's money in the bank.
Yep.
It's money in the bank. Oh, that's actually more because there's some radiant damage on that, so that's going to be 8 points of damage. She's incredibly angry, but she has used her action to escape him, so she cannot take her attack. However, Isaiah, you do notice that some things are beginning to change around on the Ark. The Ark itself is beginning to deteriorate and begin to rise into the air, almost like it's smoking in a way. That is going to go to the halfling's turn. No, he already went.
It's top of
Who is
initiative.
who?
It'll
Who
probably be
did I
me
write that?
after
Yeah, I
him.
think there's someone. Oh, that's right. It's supposed to be the Ark. I was gonna say, why did I write this down? I'm gonna see how much progress is made. Isaiah, as
Wait,
you
if it's
look
the
back,
halfling, if it was the halfling, it would have been me to go
yeah, it would have
before
been.
her. But
Uh,
alas, it doesn't matter.
I have them all marked strangely, and I shouldn't have done this. This is the DM problem. But either way, you look, Isaiah, and it seems like the arc is beginning to slow down, and darkness is beginning to surround all of you. The arc itself almost seems to disapparate and deteriorate in some type of burning, rising sensation, almost like it's being dusted in Infinity War. You look around, every one of the attendants is also having the similar effect, but you and Mowgli remain still. That is going to be your top of the round.
Um, do I still have flight?
You have it literally for one more turn.
Then in that case, I'm gonna fly the 60 feet up to her if that's possible.
Okay.
I'll provoke those opportunity attacks from the scrubs.
Yep. Unfortunately, the halfling's not within range yet, so yeah, the scrubs are going to make their opportunity attacks on you. Not all of them, because they didn't all get their reactions back on Mowgli. Jeez, okay. One of them actually manages to hit you for 4 slashing damage, Isaiah.
All right, considerable, considerable.
For them, yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite a bit.
So I'm pulling up after I see she got free, and I'm here to finish the job. So this is going to be the first two-handed attack against
All
her in
right,
the air.
all right.
That is a miss. That's going to be a 10 total. Wow, that's so sad. Wait, can I fly in a way that I could get flanking?
You know what? I'm gonna say you can, just because she. Oh, Mowgli is a large creature. Yes, you can.
Okay. Ray, you should have said no. You should have said no. Let me get the second attack as well. The second attack will certainly miss at advantage. That was a 1 and
No,
a 6. But this one
damn it.
attack was a natural 20.
No way,
And so,
Isaiah.
go ahead.
Your Kopesh burns in your hand, not harmfully, but you feel the beginning of the rune of Ra upon the blade itself, almost guiding itself. This blade, for the right type of creatures, acts as a vorpal weapon. How do you want to do this?
Oh, man. Oh. How I'm going to do this? Great question, Ray. I'm glad you asked. So, you're going to see not only the burning embers from the raw sigil start to yield embers that flicker off the end of the blade. Almost not too dissimilar, not as dramatic, but not too dissimilar from whenever Doctor Strange uses his sling ring. You'll also see the combined frost of the spirits that are being imbued into Neith's blade from Spirit Shroud itself. And you'll see, ironically enough, the stars on the blade perfectly align as I bring the blade all the way behind my back, and as I'm flying towards her, I cut straight forward and down like a lumberjack through
Oh,
her, clean and swiftly.
you bisect her in half, huh?
Yep.
Oh, oh man. The only thing that sustains its integrity, Isaiah, as you cleave through this individual, the bow of Ra rockets into the arc down below, and left on your Kopesh from your swing is the golden sash. And it finalizes the burn of the rune of Ra inside of the Kopesh itself. When you cleave through her, she has no time to speak. She gets no final words. She is cleaved, explodes in a radiant light, and disappears. And Isaiah, every one of the individuals down below you drops their weapons, including the halfling. You look around, and the captaincy becomes vacant. The sash begins to fly at rapid speed amongst the attendants and individuals about the deck, and a number of the attendants enter into the perimeter of where this battle was happening. You look and you see multitudes of what you can only assume are members of the divine pantheon. These angelic like beings all have wings. All of them have what seem to be just robes of different colors according to a god that they represent. All of them hold the symbol of their prospective god in some type of marking upon their forehead. Number of them are armed differently, multiple different creeds, and what you would assume are distinct races amongst orcs, halflings, elves, even some dragonborn, lizard folk, tritons. And they all look at you, Isaiah. And they don't look at you as a revenant anymore. They look at you as one of them. Almost like they're familiar with you. And from the below crater that was made by you, Isaiah, when you first divine smited the captain's quarters, walks a dark-skinned, white dreadlocked man. Bare-chested, wearing a toga upon his lower body, sandals, seems to be elderly in the face in distinction, has some type of tattoos and paint upon him that doesn't give you the idea that he's uniform or just some type of attendant upon this boat. Pushes his dreadlocks out of the way, almost like he was waking up from a nap. Staff in hand, and at this point, bow across his shoulder. Looks at you and says, I assume we made it home. Who exactly are you?
Do I know this man?
You've never seen this man before. He looks like a Jabaxi man from the north, you would assume.
I would look at him, and by extension, the rest of the divine pantheon, and I would say, "My name is Isaiah, son of Rashad, and son of Solana, advocate for Mowgli, and companion to many others. And I am here to make things right." And I would fly myself basically down to the deck
Isaiah,
of the ship.
as you finish your sentence, you fall out of the sky 40 feet onto the deck of the boat.
I face plant.
You take 14 points of bludgeoning damage as you hit the deck. I hope you're still up.
I am still up.
Thank God. As you gave off your wonderful monologue and speech, and you just and this man walks over towards you very nonchalantly, very unprofessionally, very casually, and he says, "Well, Isaiah, I am Amun, the last pharaoh and the last avatar of Ra. You made your point. You can ride the boat. And he smiles and holds a hand out towards you to pick you up.
I would take fucking Amun Ra's hand and I would stand up.
Yeah, he pulls you up and he dusts you off. We don't get a lot of visitors, so I apologize for anything my attendants might have done to you. You're not a normal revenant from my look.
No, it's the shortest way I've thought of uh putting it is I am a victim of the circumstances I've created. Um, but that is also partially my purpose is to make things right for the things that I've done and have been done. Um, but at one point, yes, you could technically call me a revenant by definition. Um, your children, I guess would be the best way to put it. Um, Horus and Osiris made a deal of sorts to keep me alive, um, and to serve them.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Hold on! What the? Uh, I'm gonna use a word that I heard very recently from our modern day. What? Hold the fuck on! Uh, you're going a little too far. Answer me this first before we do anything. What the fuck are you doing here, kid? Horus and Osiris? I think I heard Neith get mentioned. What do you have to do with my mother? No, answer the first question. I don't want to know about Neith yet. And he realizes and looks at your Kopesh, Isaiah. I'm sorry. He points at that. Is that what I think it is?
If you are thinking that this is the Kopesh belonging to Neith, then you are correct.
He puts a hand out. And suddenly the Kopesh is immediately put into his own hand from yours. This is a sign of change. Wow. All right, Isaiah. All right. And he goes over to you and he daps you up.
My man. Oh man.
He he tosses you back the Kopesh. Oh, we are feasting tonight, Isaiah. Let me tell you what. This is a sign of change that I never thought I'd see.
And I never thought that I would be the bringer of. But yes, I'm sure you have many questions. So I will try to answer them to the best of my ability.
Okay, let me think like Ra and less like Amun right now. All right, so this is what's gonna happen. You killed my captain, Isaiah. That's a bit of a pain in the ass, but it's not exactly an issue for me. She'll be back, but she can't be captain anymore until she gets picked again, so a new one will be picked in the meantime. And we'll do that after because we've already made the journey. We're back in my domain, and he's gonna snap his fingers, and suddenly you go through essentially light speed with the arc, and all that disapparating with the arc accelerates incredibly. You reapparate, and suddenly you're parked on the side of a mountain, Isaiah, to the far, far uh, east. Now, that might seem odd to you that we park over here in this direction in the spirit world, but believe me, it'll make sense in the long run. Isaiah, Rashad, and Solana, you said. Your parents.
Yes,
I can't say that I've heard of them, but I'm going to assume they are mortal. Correct?
that is correct.
So you're not a demigod that accidentally apparated into the world. You were mortal to begin with, right?
I was mortal. Your grandchildren brought me back. I became partially mortal, technically. Then I technically almost died a second time. And through that second death, I've been regaining a original first iteration kind of version of life again. It's confusing. It's confusing. It's long.
Oh, it's fucking confusing. It's
Yeah.
fucking confusing. Yeah, it is. I'm taken aback by this whole situation and why Horus and Osiris saw fit to do this to someone who is fully mortal. How foolish and dangerous it is to imbue divine essence of this kind, especially after what Set did to Osiris. To do almost the same thing in a way to you is foolhardy, but I'm retired, so I'm not going to do anything about it. What I am going to do is tell you that, kid, the fact that you're able to talk to me right now is a miracle. You are. I've never seen anything like this before. You're an anomaly. I don't know if they've ever tried this before or if you're the actual first test run. Either way, you just boggle my mind. I can't believe that you strolled up, you got this whole story, you show up with the very weapon my children, Geb and Newt, made for my mother. And she honored them in their death by keeping it for all of these years. And mind you, I'm thinking like Ra and less like Amun. It's my whole deal is something different too. It's crazy. Me and Amun were kind of sharing. I exist in his body, and I don't have to waste time on spending excessive energy, especially since I don't run things anymore, and I get to do whatever I want. Uh, God, me, Neith, this is amazing. So, kid, what are you gonna do? What are you trying to do?
Well,
Do you feel okay? Are you? I'll turn down the heat, and he makes it really cold, like frigidly cold.
okay. We can deal with a lukewarm temperature in here. It's I can still feel the cold now. I mean, I'm getting used to what sensory kind of feelings are like. So, but in any case, what I am two things. Uh, the higher purpose in me would like you to help aid me in essentially getting your, what I guess you could call, great grandkids
They're
to,
all they're all just grandkids to me.
yeah,
That
yeah,
that's what they are.
to get your kids to essentially stop fighting. And I look down at Neath Blade and I say, it didn't. The cost of the war has not been put into perspective in terms of its toll until I actually was able to meet Neath and her lack of life, or at least lack of willingness to be alive. And I think this is in large part due to Horus and Set's ongoing war. And I'm not trying to say that you're not busy, you know, up here being the arc and, you know, having your own kind of thing going on with APEP. But at the same time, you and Set's relationship is completely different than that of the other gods. And in that way, I feel like on some level you should be able to leverage your power, but also your relationship cachet with him to reach something that's more amicable than what we have right now. Because what we have right now is citizens of Jabaxi that not only pray to Osiris, Isis, Geb, Kepri, you name it. But they're praying to these gods, but they're still falling to Set's folly. They're still dying in the name of the gods. And more so than that, the gods seem to be uh, somewhat helpless, and they leave it all on Horus to fight this battle. And while all of this is happening, Neath is basically completely worse for wear, I guess would be the best way to put it. And so that is my higher purpose request, is to have you assist me with um, this set battle that has been ongoing, if you can in any way. And then the selfish man in me only needs you to get me to Pharaoh's.
Kid, I Isaiah, I don't know what they teach in Jabaxi anymore. My days on the throne and the days of the pharaohs don't exist anymore. They're long gone. When it comes to Set and Horus and our family in general, well, I should say more so Set and Osiris, I have a feeling that my disagreements with my own brother, you know, the big serpent, is kind of a bad example for them. And it proved to be rather detrimental if that was the only example I was giving. There was a day and age when we did agree with one another, and the cycle of, well, day and night was fairly simple, but that was long before we ever came to this Terra Grecian world. Um, my mother, Ra's mother, Neith, the only one to come before me, she gave her life to bring us here. She's dead in the most permanent way a creator like her can be. I did what she asked upon me, and I continued on the leadership of Jabaxi the same way that she did when she was on the throne. Now, Horus, Isaiah, Take a seat, and he operates a chair for you on this top deck.
What does the chair look like?
It's a very simple reclining chair.
Okay.
It's almost like a lawn chair.
Okay.
He likes to lay about a bit.
Okay.
Isaiah, I can't really believe I can say anything that's sacrilege given my position, but I want you to know something from the very beginning. By no means was Set ever to be anything more than my essentially attendant and first mate. He was meant to do this journey with me until he would eventually take over, and I would do something else. Horus was never meant to rule before Osiris. Osiris was meant to run the pantheon. It was all for him. And before that, I honestly might have given it to Newt or Geb, but they didn't come to this world, Isaiah. They didn't make it. Whatever world Jabaxi existed in before all of this, I don't even remember the name. Not because of a shoddy memory, but because that's how permanent it was. The erasure of it. Neith sacrificed everything, every future she had with all of her children, to give us a chance here. Because of what Horus and Set did. They waged war in Eastfulgen. They tore that land apart. And now, amongst everything in Terra Grigia, that place is a hellhole. It is a nightmare.
But that's not true, Amun, because me and Iset did bring back Neith, if for not a moment. That was real. I saw it. It happened, and that's how I got this blade. Neith's death's permanence is only permanent if we actively make the choice to make it be permanent. And Set and Horus's war is only a constant if members of the Pantheon allow it to be constant. And that's not my way of saying everyone should stop their job, get into a big room, and talk this out. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not even saying it's simple. And I know everyone has their own responsibilities, but the people below the Pantheon that look up to the Pantheon, that worship the Pantheon every single day, make offerings, they pray to you, they plead for help. Most of them barely get an answer. I mean, if you're a follower of Neith, I saw it firsthand. Those prayers go into a void of nothingness. I think the people like me deserve their faith to be rewarded more than what it is now. And that is why I'm asking you to help instead of just having some random captain that is appointed to take on the role of, running this arc across the sky. I'm asking you to actually get involved. I'm going to try to channel Divinity, Emissary of Peace.
Okay. He looks at you and solemnly looks down for a bit. He reaches behind his own chair that he's reclining in, and he pulls out cooked meat on a stick. Looks like almost like a Flintstone size pit roast on a stick, and he hands you one.
I'll take it.
And he, yeah, he starts chowing down on one himself, and then he notices that Mowgli has been like sitting like a little bit off to the side and between both of you, and he like just on his butt, and he apologizes and he pulls out an even bigger one for him, and Mowgli starts chowing down on it.
That's
Uh,
beautiful.
this is pre-game. This isn't the feast. As he chews into it, uh, Isaiah, I have no authority. As he chews on his meat, I have no authority in Jabaxi anymore. Ra is probably the last person people think about in Jabaxi at any point in time other than when the sun rises or falls, usually only when it rises. The fact that anyone even remembers my mother to venerate her and give her prayers is a miracle to me. I'm incredibly surprised by it. And the small prayers that I get, I do I do hear them, and I will always accept them. But a lot of my time, Isaiah, I'm doing damage control for Horus and Set. Believe it or not, a lot of my time is spent in Eastfilgen, trying to take whatever essence of divinity that Horus and Set spilled upon the land when they maimed themselves and each other, and trying to bring it back here. I'm doing that right now, in a way. But the things you say about Neith, you saw her. You didn't call her a grandmother, did you?
No, because even when I saw her, I didn't even know who she was. So,
Okay, good. Don't call her a grandmother. She actually does not take well to that. She's Mother Neith, always. No matter her extended patronage or parenting. Uh, Found that out the hard way. But Isaiah, it sounds like to me you're trying to bring Neith back. And it sounds like to me you're trying to bring me back a bit. But, and I'm not going to say that you're wrong in this, but I am going to tell you that despite your intentions, it might not be a good thing. And I'll tell you why. How adamant are you to make change in your mind?
I don't necessarily know how to answer that question, so I will answer it to the best of my ability. Because of the crimes that I have once committed, the deeds that I've done, the situation that Horus and Osiris have put me in, and the oath that I find myself confined to, I promise you, wholeheartedly, as someone who has only just met you today, and I guess you don't have any reason to take my word for it, but I honestly, earnestly promise you when I say this. My goal, my adamant nature is to not make change. My adamant goal is to make things right.
Mm.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you're talking to, the adamant, unyielding, unbreaking desire to make things right has cast a physical, tangible, and even divine riptide throughout Jabaxi. I have set to make things right, but on my journey to make things right, I saw Neath. On my way to make things right, I have met you. On my way to make things right, I have seen my family. I have been to my gravesite upon which I had first originally died. This journey that I am on has nothing to do with changing something for the better or for the worse, because I don't know what any given outcome would be. Because you are right. Bringing Neath back, bringing Raw back, I have no idea what that outcome would be. But what I do know is that I have lost friends to Set. There were times I almost lost myself to Set. There were times where I mourned for my people because of the situation that we can't even escape from. Will have no end in sight. No matter who you talk to, no one thinks that there's an end in sight because everyone has just come to accept that this is a constant. And that, Amun Ra, that complacency, that is not right.
Spoken like a true mortal, I would say. You guys travel at. Geez, I don't even remember. 80 feet per turn? Is that accurate? No, I'm just kidding.
So what's your flight speed? You got mobile?
The Isaiah, you need to understand that if you feel like you are motivated, and I'm asking you how motivated you are, how adamant you are to make your goals come true. Imagine that, but this happens. And Amun Ra waves a hand, and suddenly Mowgli disappears in a puff of flame, incinerating him and the chair, leaving nothing but a bear claw on the ground. How motivated are you now?
I would look at. I would be caught off guard, first and foremost. You know, just got reunited with
He's dead.
my partner in crime. And
This is him saying it.
just
I
fucking.
killed him. He's gone.
Wait, for real?
You're never going to see him in the same form ever again. Now, how motivated are you?
Well, it is as it was years ago. The path to doing what is right will probably yield a path behind you of people who just couldn't make it along the way. Unfortunately for me, as I am regaining my feeling, my mortality in its aches and bruises, physically and emotionally, that task, I guess, only gets harder. But just because I feel it, the mission doesn't change.
He finishes his Flintstone meat, flicks the bone away. It turns into ash where Mowgli was. Stands up from his chair, cracks his neck. Ugh. Well, now imagine that, and pretend that Mowgli there was your father. Do you think you could keep that flame inside of you lit for millennia? And if you feel like you could do that, that's just an inkling of what it feels like to be Horus after Set killed Osiris. So unless you feel like you can compete with the determination of Horus, who is clearly neglecting his people due to his adamant war on Set and desire for revenge for his own father, willing to forsake his own sanctity here in Terra Grigia, the gods that have made these laws, one of the very few sins that they have is that kinslaying is wrong. And the fact that Set is going to drive Horus to willingly kinslay, do you feel like your determination could match, if even surpass, a god like his? Then I'll help you. And I'm going to need you to roll me a persuasion check with your Emissary of Peace on.
I will do this. Rolling the dice. Let me just validate that Emissary of Peace gets me +5. Okay, cool. That is a natural 14 for a 26.
26.
And I forgot what the question was. He was asking about if my resolve matches that of a god. My determination matches that of a god.
He was essentially asking you if you have what it takes to match up against Horus or Set or anyone who is nearly as determined as you, but on a godly level, yes.
Um, yeah, so what I will say is that from my first inflection point, where I initially met Horus and Osiris to discuss my fate, from that moment, I made a mental note of these godlike beings and their behavior and their reasoning for why they did what they did specifically to me. Um, from then on forth, I made a note of when I met other gods, whether that was of this land or others. And even recently, like I said, meeting the mother, meeting Amun Amun Ra, what I've come to notice that even though I am but just a mortal, and how relative to the gods I am but a bit of I am a bit of a speck in the grand scheme of things. I've come to learn behaviorally, emotionally, and maturity wise, the gods actually share far too much in common with mortals in that sense. Um, so when you ask me if I can do this for millennia, I think about how the gods do what they do day by day just like everyone else. It's just that unfortunately their consequences affect more people than the choices of mortals. And in that front, I do believe that I have the determination and the capacity to match that of a Horus or a Set or an Eset or a Geb. Well, not Geb because Geb's not around. Scratch that from the record. Kept free or any of the other gods. Because in my short period of time, I have championed mortals to the gods in a way that I don't think the gods have done so for other gods, to other gods, certainly within the last couple of years. Dare I say, maybe even decades. Dare I even say, maybe even centuries. That this fight that I've been putting on is, going back to the difference between what is right and what has changed. This is that we've seen the most amount of change. We've seen the most amount of fight for what is right when I have set out to do so.
He motions for you to follow him.
I will get up from the reclining lawn chair and I will follow.
All right.
I will pick up the
He
bear claw.
okay. You pick up the bear claw. It's a little toasty.
It hurts so fucking
He's
bad.
he starts walking down towards the center of the arc, creating a stairway as he begins to lower himself within it. The wood and limestone very neatly and plainly apparating around him, seemingly eroding all design that was done upon the ship, making it back into essentially nothing but plainness or default. Uh, Amun looks back at you and he says, "You're not a speck, Isaiah, because there's a lot of things that the gods don't want to admit to, and the main part of it is that we don't have a lot of power in the material plane. In fact, after my days," he points at himself and, up and down, days of Amun, I think there's only one avatar of a Jabexi god walking the sands. And that would be Horus's, I would assume. Would have been a woman who carries herself with distinction. I forget her name. It didn't matter to me. But you need to understand that despite not being an avatar, Isaiah, you carry the weight and decisions of everybody, I would say, who's right there. And he points at the Kopesh. When my mother used that stinger, there were no runes burnt upon it. Not like that. That's something I've never seen before. But it seems to carry importance because I feel Set, and I feel Set himself in there in a way of influence. You, I said earlier, being mortal, move very quickly, and you're not planning on wasting time. And I hope you carry that mindset moving forward because Isaiah, Set and Horus have been at war for not really an amount of time I've been tracking. But I have a feeling that it's going to come to an end soon enough because rumor has it some of the disciples of Set have found the Eye of Horus in Eastvilgen. And if they get it back here, and they take the arm of Set to a place where he can be venerated outside of the plane of Salia or Jabaxi, let's say Eastvilgen or Vari, then he can go all out against Horus and not worry about being able to come back to life. He could kill Horus and risk his own death as long as he exists in another plane. Do you understand that?
I think I'm following.
So, it comes to another idea. Set was meant originally to take over this journey of mine that was given to me by my mother. He had learned my process, and I'm highly unafraid to say that he is a lesser god compared to me, although he has grown in power and bloodthirsty veneration. I will admit to you a fault of mine. You ready for it?
I'm waiting.
He got free of this arc and of his duty to it. That is something that I cannot do. And I have a feeling, due to the absence of a specific individual, I know who knows how to do this. And that would be Thoth. I can't remember the last time that scribe has been in my presence, or anyone's even whispered a prayer in his direction. So I would say, if you can find Thoth, the god of knowledge and secrets, he could have some information to maybe bring Set back here if that is what you're interested in, and maybe binding him back to the Ark. That would make him duty bound, and believe me, he would not want Apophis to win either. As bad as Set is, at least Apophis is more single-minded in the idea of just kind of one-upping his brother. Yeah.
I look at the big, dark, imaginary snake off in the distance, and I just think, you son of a bitch, you. Um, I would ask Amun Ra, do we know where we last heard or seen Thoth?
I'm not positive myself. I'm afraid to say my library is very limited. But you mentioned Pharos. I assume that's a city in Jabaxi?
Yes, it is the capital of Jabaxi.
Oh, they renamed it. Okay. All right. I guess Amun City was pretty lame to them. Uh, so we are going to drop you off there in a few, I don't know, maybe raw days.
You like naming things after yourself, don't you?
Yeah, it's a case of I should name this after me because it's not been a lot of time since you got on the arc. We're moving at an impossible speed once we really got going. So very little time is moving, so you should take all the time you can to rest. You get to stay in Set's room. Uh,
Wow, that's.
as he walks you towards this door that well, bears his symbol and has a black and red rug on the outside. It's been pretty vacant, besides the captain that you have, well, quite frankly, destroyed, but she'll be back in time. You're probably concerned that there's a lot of members of Set's cult amongst my people, but you need to understand that they work for me and me alone. They are my attendants, and they do not have any other desire other than to attend as a form of punishment in their own afterlife. It is the best case scenario I could give them, given their sin stricken history.
I appreciate this knowledge. I wish it was printed out on a brochure when I had initially breached the hull of the boat. Um, so
We don't get a lot of visitors. We
anyways, yeah,
don't.
no, I know.
We don't.
How was I supposed to have known, and how were you supposed to have known that I got on the boat? I get it. We all make,
We're a get off our lawn type of community, because it's usually, you know, revenants, snake individuals, and the occasional higher devil or demon that tends to find its way here impossibly and thinks that just because you have a fire immunity or resistance, you can go up against the god of the sun. And I'm still here, so you can imagine how all that went.
No,
But
yeah, I get it. You have a get off the lawn mentality, and I have a very strong, I would like to talk to the owner of the boat mentality, and clearly those two ideologies kind of clash. So I apologize again. Tell your captain if slash when she comes back. I'm sorry, it was a misunderstanding. Also, don't shoot me with a bow again. Appreciate it.
the door that you guys are upon, suddenly you hear a click from the other side, and a presence makes itself known by opening it and pushing a bear snout, now golden, on the other side and peeking out. Isaiah, I got a paint job.
Mowgli! I take out
And
the bear claw.
it's still there.
what? What the fuck happened?
What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
This is you. You
No, it's
dropped
not.
this.
I'm me.
I count as bear claws.
That's an extra. He
Oh,
Ra, Amun speaks up and he says, "I told you he would never be back in the same form before. Uh, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did kill him, but I didn't want to take your only ally away. That would be fucked up. Uh,
Yeah,
I'm
that would have
not.
been.
I'm not like that. But I wanted to get a point across of very important distinction that you should steel yourself, Isaiah, because I have a feeling that at some point in time, before your journey is done, Horus is going to stand in your way in more than one way, shape, or form.
I have long understood that within this past week that I think both Horus and his father have somewhat come to regret putting me in this form. I just hope that they understand that in the long term, they made something that is beneficial not only to them but for the people of Jabaxi. But that is a conversation and a potential encounter for another time. But for now, I must take my rest and I must prepare myself for the journey to Pharos.
I would absolutely say take as much time as you need, Isaiah. And if you need any refreshments, um, laundry done, new duds, or adjustments, just let one of my attendants know, or me if you see me. Um, if you see my room, steer clear. You won't be able to see the amount of heat coming off of it because that level of heat doesn't give off flames. So you'll lose a hand before you can knock.
I will keep that in mind. I will try not to go door to door in the middle of the night.
It'll be apparent. It'll be very apparent to you.
I whisper to Mowgli, keep an eye out that I don't sleepwalk.
He gives you a thumbs up sideways.
That doesn't give me comfort.
He's a different man now.
Thumbs up mean different in this form.
You let me die. No.
God damn it. I start crying.
You could have done something.
I love how just such little self awareness that the god of the sun incinerated him and it's my fault.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll call it there as you take your rest in, well, Set's old room
Oh, ironic.
before he was fucked up.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I won't try to keep you too long. I know you got other shit you need to do, but quick post episode uh, recap. Is there anything that caught you off guard this episode, or did it go pretty much how you were anticipating it?
Part of me always feels like if I give you numbers essentially against you, I feel like, oh, you're going to fight all of them. But part of me also like assumes that, oh, maybe he'll stand down this time. But no, usually against odds, you typically just go up against them. So I was kind of surprised when you decided to go up against the captain and just initially just say, "Oh, you're a cultist of Set. You're going down." Instead
Yeah,
of just questioning why there's one on the boat in general. But yeah, her captaincy did give her autonomy away from her own duty. So as long as she had that, it's honestly in the long run a good thing that you wrestled that away from her.
yeah. In my head canon, I actually don't know why I went for the captain and not necessarily the first cultist that I saw on board. Because in my mind, actually, the first person I saw on board was, in my mind, I'm like, that is a follower of Set, and I don't know if that's a communication or a misunderstanding of lore or whatever the case may be. But I just took, I'm like, oh my gosh, has Set taken over the boat? And that combined with I don't see Ra piloting the boat. He's not visible. I checked the captain's quarters. He's not there. He's not at the helm, whatever the case may be. That's an issue. That's a problem. We got to address that. So, the fact that the first attendant on the boat didn't attack me, I took that as an absolute win. I'm like, okay, they're fighting the Apophis snakes out there, so I can just keep moving on and let's call that free hits that I am not taking. And so I proceeded to the end of the boat to get answers of some sort, and I did not get that, which is fine. But I did get resolution, and that was also very much fine. But yeah, no, I can't necessarily explain it, but that's how it just kind of worked out in my mind. The entire goal, and this is how crazy, I guess. I mean, this is kind of the point of D&D. You have a very small, minuscule goal, and it turns into this whole thing. My only goal, I don't even really think I was trying to talk to Amun Ra. What I was trying to do was board the boat, and dead ass, what I was going to do, I was going to kill everyone on the boat, at least on the surface of the boat. And then what I was going to try to do, because we're on like episode or session 5 or 6 of this, and almost the entire time I've been trying to get to Pharos in one way or another. So I figured, what beautiful, more symbolic representation of my unyielding desire to try to get to Pharos is to board the arc of Amun Ra, and I wanted to steer the entire ship towards the direction of the capital.
Jeez. Yeah,
And that
would have
was
been,
the goal.
That
That's why
wild.
I engaged, because I not only did I think they were, cultists a set, but I was also like, these people are definitely not going to let me just get the steering wheel and go. So the objective was kind of like, it was a 2-for-1. I got to kill these people because followers a set, yada yada yada, and then also I gotta start steering this ship. So that was kind of the plan. And then you said, the boat's starting to deteriorate, and I'm like, man, that plan just kind of went fucking south. And then, the Pantheon shows up, representatives of the Pantheon, and then Amun Ra show up, and I'm like, oh shit, I did not plan this. So I didn't plan that discussion that happened. That wasn't really in the cards. I guess I should have anticipated it a little bit more, but once he was not on the boat, I'm like, oh, he's just not on the boat. He might be in I guess the best way to put it is like the equivalent of a state of Neath, where he's just kind of out of the picture for whatever reason, and I don't know why. And
that's
so fair. I didn't really take it into much consideration that there is some type of trigger tripwire of sorts that once triggered, he shows up. I didn't really take that into consideration, so that's why I wasn't really trying to talk to the halfling that much. I was trying to get him to lay down arms so that this encounter goes smoother, and then I can steer the fucking boat and get going. So yeah, that was kind of the rationale for a lot of this session of what I was trying to do versus what was actually happening. But yeah, I think from the get-go, even from the jump, because I obviously could have just not got on the boat and just flew to Pharos, but duh, that's kind of fucking lame. B, I knew I was going to run out of flight before I even get to Pharos, so I'm going to be walking through the desert again. Dumb.
Yeah.
And then C, it's way cooler to pull up on Amun Ra's ship and see what happens. Now, granted, took a lot of radiant damage, took a lot of burn damage. I think that was kind of expected. I don't think that was supposed to go smoothly.
No.
That was my expectation. I knew that this was not going to go well. So when I took the 24 fire damage or radiant damage, I'm like, I kind of got what I asked for. I'm not shocked, but I'm still hurt. So yeah, in that sense, that all kind of played out how I expected. Trying to think here. Definitely did not see you coming. Expect you to have Amun Ra kill Mowgli for a demonstration purposes. Did not see that coming. I guess I should see that coming because he's a god and he can do that and he can kind of bring shit back to life, and none of that. I thought he was gone too. Even when you kill him, I'm like, oh, he's coming back clearly. I'm like, well, fuck. I guess this is just. I guess this is just Amun Ra, which is sad because Ray is role playing him as like a chill dude. He's cool, and then he just murks my buddy.
I was gonna say he's kind of cool, and then yeah, that can happen because he is a god, and they're like that. You know,
I
they
was thinking that you were trying to. I thought you were trying to role play him as like the god from the first scene in Thor: Love and Thunder with
oh
Gore the God Butcher, where he's like super into. He's basically the vacation god, like just trying to
yeah
chill, do his own thing, and kind of ignore everyone else's play. I'm like, is this Ray's roleplay angle? But like, Amun had like wisdom and like some sympathies about him, so I'm like, maybe he's not entirely. But when you're like, oh, he summons a lawn chair of sorts, a reclining lawn chair, I'm like, but is he just like a dude that just likes to hang out and vibe, which is not wrong per se, but I didn't know if you were trying to take a ignorance is bliss type of approach to Amun Ra, where it's kind of not his problem because he's in his retirement phase of godhood. So that was
yeah.
like that was a thing for me to figure out. I'm like, do I just pull up on this dude or do I just like try to schmooze my way out of this? And that was something I had to figure out in real time when we were role playing.
Yeah, he's essentially retired, so he doesn't like he's out of touch. Clearly, he's like no internet old head who doesn't know how things are. And mind you, he left things in the hands of Osiris, and obviously that didn't work out.
Yeah.
And that was his retirement. So however long Osiris was in charge, wasn't too long because obviously,
Things
Set was
changed.
Set. Yeah, things change. Set was in charge for a short amount of time. That's when the whole idea of Set escaped the Ark and basically ruined the balance that Ra had going on. And then obviously Horus would have been born in the meantime during what do you call it? Osiris's reign, so he would have been, up and coming, but he would not have been capable of fighting Set until he was fully grown and powerful. Which, yeah, Horus would have wrestled the control of Jabaxi from him entirely, which would have surprised Set in general because it would have been like, okay, who the fuck is this kid? Oh, you're my nephew? That's pretty weird and pathetic. And it's like, oh, you're a lot stronger than I thought. Okay,
Yeah.
because obviously he's a very arrogant, capable person, but it's the arrogance that usually gets villains in general.
Yeah.
Uh,
What was I
yeah.
gonna say?
I will say that nat 20, the double nat 20s I rolled for that one shot against you on the bow of Ra, if you did not pass that Constitution save, you would have died
Oh man,
outright. So that would have sucked a lot.
that would have
And
sucked a lot.
I have things in place in general, but the other thing I'll say is, had you not passed your persuasion check, which I was counting on you, you have insane persuasion and charisma, especially with Emissary of Peace.
Yeah.
If you had not convinced Ra to actually help you in this situation, he essentially would have dropped you off, and he would have given you back Mowgli, but he would have been pretty PTSD shell shocked Mowgli, as in he's no longer the same person. He would have had singed fur the whole time.
Oh man.
Uh, I would say that probably a little bit of that savagery comes from some of his time in Eastvilgen, uh, as he does spend whatever free time he can do trying to make things better for Jabaxi in general,
Yeah.
and he does feel bad for what happened over there to those people.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Because it's indirectly his fault, he would say.
I will. I understand that. I think the last point I wanted to say, and this is definitely not a toot my own horn, but just like I want to call it out so that it's known. You know, Oath of Redemption Paladin is a very interesting and fun kind of role playing class. It's it's really engaging, and it forces me to think in I've had to put a lot more thought into the role playing of this actual character, especially in this miniseries with what he has to confront, than I think I have ever done with any character whatsoever. With what I have to say, and I think that's most apparent in these like, and it happens with almost every single time I have to do Channel Divinity, but especially with these ones where I basically have to ad lib a motivational and powerful speech and like soliloquy to these gods. And I'm not saying like, I am him at that, but like it is so hard to not. I went from I'm not gonna see Amun Ra on this boat, I'm gonna fly to the capital, to I am speaking to him and I have to convince him why he should help me. And the just riffing to try to make it happen. I'm just trying to think of something that's like impactful, meaningful, resonant with the character, but also resonant to the character I'm talking to. Um, it's it's tough, man. I'm so grateful that I have a small bladder in times like this, because then on my pee break, I'm just thinking like, man, what am I gonna say? What am I gonna say? I gotta figure something out. Say something. So yeah, it's been very rewarding, because sometimes I'll say shit and I'll be like, man, that shit's hard. That's a good fucking line right there. And then sometimes I feel it just whiff as it comes out of my mouth. I'm like, man, the train's running off the tracks. You're reaching. So I'm trying my best out here, but no, these speeches are fun. These like little monologues are super fun and cool. Both in the way that uh, like monologues to persuade other people, but also like the monologues that kind of like the conversation with Endalock obviously being one of my favorites, of just like this emotional diatribe of what I've been going through. And it's just like, it flows. It's just like free balling, it just happens. And I'm glad that I'm not crushing underneath the weight of all these persuasion checks. I wish I could just say, hey, I'm going to try to persuade them, and then I don't have to do the speech. Now, granted, that's not as fun roleplay wise, and it's not engaging to listen to or DM for, but sometimes I am just like, man, I don't got anything slick to say at the moment. I just want to do the persuasion check, emissary of peace, and get out of jail free card, and just keep moving along. But I can't do that. I have to say something slick. So
Your
no,
your
this is cool.
speech absolutely dictates the DC. I'll tell you that much. It's going to do it. If it's not good, it's going to be much higher. And I know what you're capable of. You are capable of getting over 30 easily. It's possible. But yeah, like you're going to have many more in the future and they're going to be difficult. Like you're going to have your most important ones coming up.
God damn it, man.
So prepare. Get a thesaurus. Let's go, bro.
I'm gonna
Let's do this.
do some research on how to do
Yep.
a powerful speech, ad libbed, unprompted. You don't even know the topic. You'll know when you enter the conversation. Um, Make sure you have your sources cited. No, I'm kidding. But yeah,
Yep.
no. Really great session, really fun, really cool combat. Glad I got a crit. I didn't know that this was a Vorpal weapon, so that was super fun to find out.
You weren't supposed to, but now you do.
Yep. So that was
Can't ignore it.
that was cool. Loved, not actually didn't love, really caught off guard by Mowgli dying. Super glad he came back with like a golden paint job. That's super cool. I love that radiant vibe that he has now. I like that look on him. I love that for him. Um, yeah, no, and like just picturing the whole session in my head, man, it was very anime esque. Like I don't know. I just imagined the sky just being, bisected by complete utter darkness and complete light, and there's just like it's just clash, and we're just threading that needle. We're in the right in
Oh
between.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm doing some cool shit with my axe. Mowgli's standing there. He's my shield. He's my bodyguard, trying to heal me. I'm trying to schmooze a halfling, murk a captain, and fighting for my life as I'm getting surrounded. And No, it was some cool shit in my head. I can tell you that. I don't know if you were picturing sexy shit, but I was picturing some sexy shit. Um,
Yeah, the idea of your divine smite with how high it was, and that you use that level of spell slots. The radiant, like doing any irradiant damage on the ship, is supposed to be like exacerbated. It's massive.
yeah,
Like you could have destroyed the arc completely, and literally gotten Amun's attention of being like, "What the hell is going on here?
yeah.
What the hell?"
That was a very cool moment. The explosion from the clash of divine smite and the force damage with the bow. That was a very cool moment that I didn't expect to happen like that. So I appreciated that. Were any of those guys like uh vulnerable to cold damage? Because that's why I picked it. I'm like, these radiant motherfuckers that like literally work for the sun god. They have to get chilled up, right?
No, they didn't have any vulnerabilities
God
to
damn it!
cold damage, but I appreciate you trying.
I tried.
Um, because they were set followers in their time in like past, they did not have resistance to radiant damage. However, the one that followed Kepri and the other gods that are more just, they do.
Okay, interesting. Cool. Do I have resistance to radiant damage? No.
Not right now.
One
In the
day.
future,
One
it's
day.
possible.
Maybe.
Possible.
Just gotta pray hard enough. Okay. Then in that case, any final thoughts about the session?
Uh, the only other thought of note I would bring up is the idea of Amun and Ra being Avatar and God itself. Is the idea of, in my research, I found out that Ra and Amun are actually two separate deities that have fused in Egyptian mythology, which is fucking crazy
It's like
to
Goku
think
and
about.
Vegeta when they fuse
Yeah,
together.
literally, it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting, and it made Ra incredibly powerful. Um, I didn't want to introduce another god into the situation, so I just thought, I'm like, well, there are no pharaohs in Jabaxi, like, but maybe there was. And then I had the thought of like, okay, yeah, during the age that Ra ruled, there were pharaohs, and Amun was the final avatar of Ra, and he still lives and still exists because he just went to the spirit realm because everyone else is gone, and he gets to see his friends in the afterlife on occasion when he makes his rounds. So, yeah, that was the idea, is that I wanted to make Amun the mortal human relatable part of a regular Jabaxi man.
Yeah, I really appreciated that approach. It did humanize him despite his lore being two different gods. I liked the approach of like, depending on the mood, you're gonna get a different kind of side. It's kind of like when Christians always talk about like, oh, is this God Old Testament or is it New Testament? Because those
Yeah.
are two different vibes. So I appreciated that approach of like, depending on how he was feeling that day, um, or how the person who was talking to him, their tone, what they were saying, etc. He could feel a lot more Amun, he could feel a lot more Ra, and the results of that conversation and his decisions could, go accordingly. So, no, I did appreciate that thought, or that approach that you took. So, yeah, no, kudos to that. Kudos to that.
Yeah, that's my only other note.
All right, then this was a good one. And yeah, everyone have a good
Yeah.
time. Have a good night. Goodbye. Goodbye.